shipments from Nubia came under the control of the pharaoh's administration. Each quantity was weighed, recorded, and marked before further processing. The metal was melted in state-controlled workshops. The resulting ingots were divided between the temples, the army, and the pharaoh's treasury. In this way, gold ceased to be spoils. It became part of a managed system. Temples expanded. The army grew. The treasury accumulated more resources. Power began to consolidate. Egypt began to be seen as the richest power in the region. The Amarna letters showed that Egyptian gold began subordinating other rulers and forming a system of dependence between states. The pharaoh accepted requests for support and deliberately sent gold, creating dependence on Egyptian wealth. Under Ramesses II, construction expanded. Monumental projects spread across new areas. Propaganda reinforced the pharaoh as a god. Resources were directed to construction and maintaining the empire. The system began to strain. By the late 13th century, before the Common Era, imperial costs were rising. Gold still financed construction and payments. Levantine routes began to weaken. Some cargo was abandoned. Conflicts appeared. Oases and ports lost activity. Egypt's system began to collapse under Ramesses III. By the early 12th century, before the Common Era, Levantine cities were being abandoned. Populations moved toward the Nile Delta region. These groups became known as the Sea Peoples. Some of them settled in abandoned ports and took over existing infrastructure. Certain territories were seized by force, creating footholds in the Nile Delta. Conflict along the Nile became unavoidable. Egypt prepared defenses on a massive scale in the Nile Delta. Fortifications stretched 4 kilometers along the channels. Troops were concentrated on the banks. The fleet prepared to block the approaches of Sea People's ships. The Nile Delta was turning into a battlefield. Archers filled the banks. The first arrows shattered the silence. Fighting on the Nile subsided. Part of the sea peoples was destroyed. Some were taken captive. The Nile gradually returned to stability. River traffic began to return. The pressure came from multiple directions. At the same time, Egypt also defended from land against a large-scale advance of the sea peoples. Egypt reinforced its frontiers with fortifications and tried to disperse great invading columns before they could push deeper into the land. Fighting in the Nile Delta and land clashes devastated the region and permanently changed its structure. Part of the sea peoples was captured. Captives were resettled into subordinate towns. New centers dependent on Egypt were established. Egypt emerged from war weakened. Maintaining the old system cost more and more. Revenues no longer provided the same strength. The center was losing control over the state. The pharaoh still reigned, but no longer ruled as before. Absolute power was beginning to end. With that, the influence of the priests began to grow. Vast temple estates controlled agricultural land and resources. Their wealth financed workers and soldiers. Private guards protected temple domains. Gold from Nubia increasingly flowed under their control. Influence was built patiently over generations. Land created independence. Gold secured real control. They waited for the right moment. Power shifted without open confrontation. What happened then became one of the foundations of the most powerful mechanisms of power that exist even today.